I'm sitting with Danielle Smith, certified John Maxwell coach. We've been going through, we're on 15 weeks. We're on week 5 of the Invaluable Laws of Growth. Today, we're going to talk about the law of consistency.
I want to say that this is maybe the way John describes this, and some of the points that you're likely going to click on is maybe just strangest process of all 15 of these laws that, and I'll speak more about that later, but I just wanted to say that going in, that what John uses to help us identify consistency, to me, has always been strange.
Yeah, and what is strange?
How John describes the law of consistency and how to grow, to know if you're consistent. Everything about it is just, it's still. I've gone through this book
A million
at least
times.
once a year for 10
Right.
years.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
Well, no, I agree with you, because when you read the title and then you start reading off the bullet points and stuff I've journaled on the past, I have several Herdiisms to go through on this today. But there is a hallmark for consistency, and we can at least agree on that, and that is that it's the hallmark of excellence in our lives, right? Is the test of greatness is the word consistency. And I'm just going to start out right off the bat with the Herdism. Most people quit at the wrong time. I don't know how else to say this. This is probably the number one thing that people do just when they're almost there. That little obstacle comes in that just throws the last punch, and they go, "I quit," and that's the wrong time. So I'm just going to say that, and then I'm going to move on. Oh, so Danny, I'm going to run through a couple things here, and then you pick whatever you want to dive into, because I think you've got some thoughts on this today.
Me?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give you all the time on this, but let me just get everybody's brains flowing here a little bit. Turn your brain on. That's another book me and you are going through right now. But here we go. So here's some hints for consistency in your personal growth. Do you know what you need to improve? Do you know how you're supposed to improve? Part 2 of that question. Have you ever attempted to match your motivation to your personality type? How about we learn to start with simple stuff, and we can go back to Atomic Habits and that the Effect book. What was that Effect book? What am I thinking of?
The Compound Effect.
Yeah, Compound Effect, where small stuff is kind of like mundane and boring, but it's the steps necessary to get to accomplish our goals, right? Okay. Key statement. If you want to grow, don't try to win big, win small. Yikes. All right, so here's the one that I struggle with. Patience.
Hey, don't pray for patience. Got to give it to you.
Well, there's two kinds of patience.
Got to give you a reason to be patient.
Okay, well, there's two kinds we deal with, and it doesn't really dive into this book, but here's my thoughts. There's the patience of dealing with people, and then there's the patience of dealing with circumstances, world events, right? Things of that nature, and then people. So what is the value of continued improvement in your growth? In other words, are you patient enough to let that come to you if you're going through the process? Are you willing to go through small increments of improvement in your growth? Are you patient enough to do that? Do you procrastinate, Dan? Do you require constant coaxing? Do you just do tasks to complete them, or is it something you want to do? Are you negative about work? And I'm not asking you directly, okay? I'm putting it out there like the audience is going.
I'm taking it.
Yeah, I'm almost making this like a Ron White segment where he's sitting in the beanbag chair, and the preacher's telling him to donate, and he's goes, yeah, that's me. Okay.
Well, I didn't bring my bourbon, so
that's okay. So, when friends encourage you, does it irritate you? Wow.
Say that
Let's
one again.
When friends encourage you, does it irritate you?
I
In other
forget this
words,
is in that chapter.
Danny, when are you going to get with it and start doing something? Do you abandon progress consistently? Ooh. In other words, this is where I think people sabotage their success, or the fear of growth maybe comes into play on this. Um, Avoid self improvement opportunities. Hey, I don't need to read any books. I don't need to change. I am who I am. Leave me alone. That's all. I can't do justice to the chapter with these few notes right here I read off, but I was highlighting some things from the book. So, Danny, at this point, I don't even know what question to ask you, except of these, which got your attention, and let's let you spend some time on this, helping us through this process.
Second or third to the last, you mentioned about abandon.
Yeah, abandon progress consistently. You notice that I used the word consistency. I had to do a play on words. So, are you abandoning the process consistently? See, I think there's two types of consistency, Danny. There's bad consistency and good consistency.
That one about abandonment, we could say in America, in the modern world, we have a boredom crisis. We Everything's quick. Our phone's always within arm's length of us. We don't just sit and think. A few of us go out and exercise. You and I do, and we want to be entertained. We have an entertainment crisis. We're not bored enough. And then when things don't now I'm bringing it back to the book. And when we don't see progress quick enough, we abandon that process and we're not consistent. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
It,
So,
and to finish that circle there, but we're not recognizing the small incremental amounts of growth, the wins. What did you say?
I said, don't worry about the big wins. Focus on the small wins.
Yeah, it's the small wins. In my um, training, in my accountability calls that I have every morning. That, by the way, anybody's welcome
I'm gonna put your
to get the
website
number.
up.
Yeah, get the number from me. Call in. 9:30 right now. We might be changing that to a little bit later, but it's a check-in call. And what is it? What did it take to win the day? I'm gonna put together some notes about these small wins. It's out of Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
At the end of Atomic Habits, he says what's the author's name? James Clear says
Yeah.
that the danger of creating good habits is that they're small incremental things that start happening and we grow bored with it and we want to change it even though it's good.
Yeah. Good point.
And we just got to, it's the small little things here in the law of consistency. The law of consistency says motivation gets you going. Think about the books we've gone through in our Tuesdays at 2 mastermind the last couple of years.
Yep.
And how many of these books this pertains to?
All of them.
Motivation gets you going. Discipline keeps you going. Now, I think about um, uh, Jocko Willink and his book, Discipline Equals Freedom. Well, we think of freedom being we're just free to do whatever. But if we're not disciplined, we're not going to have freedom. It's almost a play on words. The law of consistency is in of itself a law, but we have to be consistent about these things.
And you made some great points. And the thing I want to focus on that small win thing is, it took me quite a while in my journaling, and especially when we went through the compound effect and atomic habits, right? And we started deep diving into that as it pertains to this law. a lot of times we do drop the ball and quit doing it because the tasks that are involved in that are mundane. They're unexcitable. They're part of that reaching the next level, right? We have to do those things to create habits of discipline. So if Danny, if you were creating a habit of discipline, you would have to go through these steps, right? You would have to say, okay, uh, for me to have self discipline, then I'm going to have to create some steps. And whether they might not be excitable, they may be mundane, but I've got to create this habit, right? So consistency is a habit.
Yeah, consistency is a habit. It's a discipline. It doesn't just happen. We have to make it happen until it becomes. We have to have discipline before we're going to get to be a habit. I mean, the book we're finishing up in the next week or so, Switch on Your Brain.
Right.
It's in the 21 days of doing something every day that she talks about, going through those 5 steps, and then after 21 days, you start another working on another habit or another overcoming another toxic thought. But you have a daily for at least 2 more 21-day periods. You have another where you're staying in the habit, or you're staying with the discipline of working on that previous thought process to create those new neural pathways until it becomes a habit. It's going to take somewhere between 21 and 65 days to create a habit, but it's got to be consistent. In the book, John talks about, and you mentioned here, do you know what you need to improve?
Yeah.
And do you know why you need to improve it?
Yeah. Big deal.
Do you know how you're supposed to improve it?
Yeah.
And I coach. Well, I mean, these are some of the questions that I ask people in a up to a 2-hour indoctrination into coaching. I start asking people questions, and then I'm gonna tell them we're gonna come back to this about every 4 weeks. We're gonna come back to those questions so that you're becoming more aware of the answers to these. Because most people do not know them.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Because I've been there. So when somebody says, do you know what you're supposed to improve?
Herdy, I'm going to put it real personal to you. I remember you and I sitting in that lobby the first time you said, Danny, I need your help. And you were getting ready to hire somebody. And I said, okay, what's this person going to do? Okay, what are they going to relieve? What are they going to take off of your plate? Is what I said.
Yeah.
And then we back up, went through that 3x5 card exercise, and but we all need that.
Yeah. That was a pretty brutal awakening for the beginning stages of my business, right? And by the way, that was back in almost 2010 or 11, Danny. Just to show you how long ago that's been.
Yeah, and you'd had your business.
You've been my coach. Okay.
Yeah, you'd had your business for a year or two, a couple of years, but you were wanting to grow it, and you thought the next stage to growing was to hire somebody.
Right.
But there are a few steps you needed to go through first.
Right. And then and what ended happening, just to explain to you folks on the consistency level, was once I went through these 3x5 cards, what I was tolerating and what I need to quit tolerating, that's my way of saying it. I realized that I was trying to take on too much myself, and I needed to simplify what I was offering so I could do the work, because nobody can take my mind and put it to work like I can. And that was the issue. My job was experience and putting and using my in between the line stuff that I knew to make people understand something. So because of you, I was able to go crazy for about 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I had to revamp everything, but the truth is that brought me to a map where I could start being more consistent on what I was doing. Yes,
yeah. Well, let
absolutely.
me. You might not have it here. We can maybe put it in the show notes later, but in the book, and guys, this book, buy it however you want to listen to it or read it. Buy it digital, paper, Audible. I have
Kindle.
all. I have all three, and if you bought the book, and I'll send you some other notes on it that John's given me. John Maxwell, the author, given me. But in here, he talks about being goal conscious versus growth conscious, and in that um, graph, if you will, whatever, it's not a graph, that cutout, I've got that in my planner. About every quarter, I fill up a planner, start a new planner, and I have certain things in front of that I put in it. And that, but you think about being goal conscious, and John is what he promotes in these 15 laws is being growth conscious over goal conscious. Goal conscious is good, but you have to be growth conscious. And a lot of us in that abandonment, we start making mistakes and we abandon what we're doing. We try to go to something else instead of learning from the mistakes, maybe taking a pause in the process. And this is the whole idea behind. This is part of the idea behind.
The law of reflection is what we touched on last week. The pause part.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, pausing, and you just need to pause sometimes, and on your way to achieving a goal. The plan doesn't work out. Goals are in concrete, plans are in sand. So the goal will challenge you, but a growth, being growth conscious, will change you. And we've got to change, or that goals of one. We're not going to. It's not sustainable.
So the whole book, the 15, invaluable laws of growth, is a word, Danny. As I've been going through this, getting ready for these broadcasts, the thing that struck me is that this whole book is really about growth. It's not about systems. It's not about goal reaching, although there's some of that in it. It's more about getting to a point of understanding how to grow and not staying stuck in yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to grow in one fact. We're going to grow fat, or we're going to grow skinny. We're going to grow,
Right, right, right.
we're going to grow good, or we're going to
I
grow bad. Let's
I was
say it
talking
like
about I was talking about positive growth, by
that.
the
I
way.
know,
Yeah.
but we're going to grow positive, or we're going to grow negative. We're going to grow because we're going to change, which means we're going to grow, and we're going to grow one way or another. And that's why we have to be purposeful in our growth. That's why these 15 laws, the law of the lid, the law of process, the law of reflection, now here the law, of a consistency, and John's put these laws together. Um, and I said I've been through this book 8, 10 times. I mean, I went through it uh, the 14 times in a 2-year period with different groups of people, and I keep coming back to certain things and learning more and more. But putting the consistencies together is maybe the hardest thing. Okay. When I decided I want to start getting up real early in the morning, I had to start going to bed real early in the evening, and
Right.
that was stinking hard.
Yep.
But it just took consistency. It took doing it,
Yeah.
and over and over again, to make it work. Ernie, I appreciate your consistency. I'm thinking about today. This morning, looked at my calendar. I do every morning. Didn't have anything. Be sure I didn't have anything on today. It's a holiday, and you're on, and
Yeah.
I'm on with you today, and you're consistent. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, man. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy yourself and be consistent. And hit us up if you have any questions. And make sure you go visit Danny at danielsmith.com and get involved with him. He's a great coach. All right. Bye, everybody.